Good morning and welcome to the Core Connection. I'm Mira Rubin here with you on Enlightened World Network. And today's topic is self-fulfilling prophecies. And this is really to talk about how we in our fear, for instance, of abandonment, we create situations where we get to experience the very thing we feared, making a self-fulfilling prophecy. And so we get to take a look at that together. And before we get started, good morning, Rosalind. Welcome. I don't know what was going on yesterday with the Facebook comments, but it's great to see that they're working today. It's great to be here with you and everybody else who's joining us. Before we get started, good morning, Bernadette. Welcome. Great to have you here. Before we get started with our conversation today about self-fulfilling prophecies, let's take a minute or two to get present. So let's take a deep breath in through your nose and hold it. And imagine clean, crisp oxygen flooding your lungs, flowing into your bloodstream, nourishing all your cells, all your organs, bringing vital life energy to your body and being. And as you exhale any tension, stress, negativity, fatigue. And now let's take another deep breath in through your nose and hold it. This time, imagine brilliant, bright light lighting you up from the inside out, illuminating, electrifying, and energizing all your cells, all your molecules, your electrons, creating a brilliant beam of light and energy from your heart out into the world. And as you exhale any remaining tension, stress, negativity, fatigue. And now let's press our palms together and vigorously rub your hands together to feel all those sensations, the friction, the pressure, the temperature, and the tickling and tingling when you stop, and allow all those sensations to bring you present right here, right now, into this remarkable physical form that enables you to experience life. Welcome. It is so good to be with you, and welcome, Gia. Great to have you joining us. And today we're talking about self-fulfilling prophecies and how oftentimes the very thing that we're afraid of creating is what we help to mastermind into existence. So let's take a look at that. And this came up when I was thinking about my good morning, Robin. So good to have you here with us this morning. Welcome. We're talking about self-fulfilling prophecies, and I'm going to talk about it in the context of abandonment. And because this was something that came up for me, like some even deeper experiences or feelings, remnants of issues I've had in the past around abandonment, and recognizing that they were still active on some level, very, very deep. So it's fascinating to me when these old issues surface again after we've done so much work. You know, the tendency is to think, oh my gosh, you know, I did all this work and nothing, haven't made any progress. Here I am again, same old. But the truth is, it's not the same old. It's a different level. You know, if we think about this upward spiral of evolution, that it goes round and round, and we keep revisiting certain things on deeper and deeper levels. So it was surprising to me, actually, to experience how deep the emotion was still at this new dimension of recognizing this very old issue, in experiencing abandonment and fear of abandonment also. So anyway, when that's operative, when we have this deep fear, for instance, I know, right? Rosalind says, gosh, how many forms can these things keep coming up, like feeling worthy? Exactly. Abandonment, worthiness, trust issues, all these things that just keep resurfacing, right? But deeper and deeper in different dimensions of the same thing. It's kind of shocking. It's kind of shocking. Anyway, when we are afraid of being abandoned, we tend to abandon, actually. We often do the behavior that we're afraid of, in this case, so that we don't get done to, so that at first sign of any kind of any indicator that might lead us to believe that abandonment might be coming, maybe we abandon, right? We run the other way. But the thing is too, let's see, Gia says, oh God, they're disguised in ways that sometimes it takes a long time to even recognize why I'm feeling this way. 100%, Gia. I understand that completely. I've been noticing all kinds of behaviors in me lately that are kind of resistant avoidance behaviors. And I didn't, it's been digging deeper and deeper to be finding out what's underneath it. It's been really interesting to discover or try to discover. It's been elusive and it keeps going deeper, so like this abandonment thing came up and was a huge surprise to me. And Bernadette says, when we ourselves abandon, is it not for self-protection? Yes, Bernadette, 100%. Hello, Laura. Welcome it's wonderful to have you joining us. I don't think I've seen you here before. It's great to be here with you. So when we ourselves abandon, is it not for self-protection? Well, it is, but it's often in the face of a threat that we're projecting. So when we have fear of abandonment, for instance, then we're always looking for clues that might be able that we could interpret as something that would indicate impending abandonment. And it may or may not be there. Rather than addressing it, the tendency would be to do the very thing that we're afraid of. And also, when we have that fear, what we're doing is we're projecting that frequency that people who abandon would be tuned into and be able to pick up and show up to fulfill that, to balance that frequency, so to speak. Like there's like a magnetism, I believe, at least, and that's a belief. It may or may not be true, but it's a working hypothesis. But we project. My experience validates whether it's true or not. So far, my experience validates that we broadcast. And when we broadcast a fear of abandonment, what we're doing is sending out this frequency that's saying, hey, fear of abandonment, come here, kind of thing. And then we can create the very circumstance that would cause us to be abandoned. So maybe what we do is attract somebody who would react to our behaviors or our openness or our communications in such a way that ultimately they reject. Maybe it's a hard thing to discuss, actually, because it exists in an other than material realm, but it seems to play out so frequently, on so many different levels, that there's some kind of dynamism I've seen. So here's an example. I had a friend whose father was an alcoholic, and so they were intent upon not being involved with anyone. Wonderful to have you here with us, Bernadette. You have a great day. Thanks for joining us. Who was intent upon not being involved with anybody who had any kind of addictive personality at all. And she was very rigorous about this. And she married someone who filled the bill really well. He was a successful executive at a company. Anyway, not long after they'd been married, he developed a drug problem. And the very thing that she was afraid of was manifest. Now, I'm not saying that it was her fault, but in a way, like, that fear ended up creating sort of a self-fulfilling prophecy. The fear that she would end up with somebody who was addicted attracted somebody that was a latent addict. And it's not that we do this consciously, because who would do that consciously? It's not that we write an engraved invitation consciously, but psychically, maybe somehow we're sending out that invitation for exactly what it is that we're afraid of. So projecting the fear outward attracts whatever it is that we fear. And so dealing with these deep issues is our best defense, actually, because, like Bernadette says, when we ourselves abandon, isn't it for self-protection? Well, yes, but the protectiveness that we create is also what is attracting the situation to begin with. It's kind of this crazy loop. I don't know if you've had that experience, but like, if you're oh my gosh, let's say, we talk about this all the time, like expectations. When we think that people are out to get us, we're going to attract people that are out to get us. If and we may show up, like, if I'm expecting that people are out to get me, I'm going to be really skeptical and maybe kind of sketchy or angry or really defensive when I interact with other people, which is going to generate a certain kind of response from those people, right? And Rosalind says, and then when the thing happens, we tell ourselves, here's the story playing out again. Here's the story playing out again. Story of my life, 100%, right? Self-fulfilling prophecy, right? I am expecting that people are going to act a certain way. I behave in a certain way that can help to precipitate that action, or I have radar for the people that will act that way. And then I get to continue to reaffirm my expectation. And the other thing is that it works the other way too, in so many ways. So if I expect that people are kind and generous, and like that, if that's authentically the expectation, not an imposed expectation, not like trying to counter, override the real expectation that people are awful. But if I really truly believe that people are kind and generous, I'm going to be sending out radar that invites people or attracts me to people who are kind and generous. And then I get confirmation of that expectation, right? So I'm sure you've heard of the term confirmation bias. Confirmation bias is where we look, where the lens through which we're seeing is tuned to see certain things. And an example is, for instance, if you've bought something, let's say you've shopped and bought a car, then the likelihood is that you will see more of those cars than you ever saw before, because you have that lens through which you're perceiving the world. So confirmation bias. And it's really interesting, actually, because targeted advertising, social media targeted advertising, really works in that kind of arena where you go on to certain websites, you get fed things that are in alignment with what the demographics say about people who go to those websites. So you get fed other things. Same thing with media feeds, or it used to be. Well, I'm sure it still is, but with media feeds, where you see, you go to look at certain news or information channels, then you get fed more of the same, and it becomes an echo chamber. And I love what you said, Rosalind, story of my life. That is what happens. We have these stories, we project them out into the world, or we broadcast them out into the world. We attract the things that are going to confirm and reaffirm our bias. And then our belief that that's how things are becomes even more deeply entrenched. So it's fascinating to me. It's interesting, on Amazon, well, not just Amazon, I guess it works even like with Netflix or and Amazon Prime Video, these different platforms that are collecting information about you. Wherever there's targeted advertising, it's like, well, you bought this and you might like this because of your choices, you might enjoy this. And a lot of us opt into those kinds of results, opt into targeted advertising so that we get shown things to buy or participate in or watch or consume that are aligned with things we've already consumed. The thing that's interesting to me is like looking at Amazon. I have to share, I'm so excited. I know I have shared with you before, I'm so excited about going to this workshop to build aircrete dome houses. I'm super excited. Anyway, so I needed to get some things. And I know that there are people who would, who just are super anti-Amazon, and Amazon is one of my vices. So just have that out, right? And, have that out in the open. Anyway, because I'm able to find these things that I need all in one place. And so I was shopping for gloves because I needed waterproof gloves for the construction. And so the thing that's interesting to me about Amazon, and you can see the algorithms at work, is I bought this thing. It's not like I need to buy them ongoingly. It's not like I need a bunch of different variations on the theme. And I keep getting shown all kinds of gloves. So I'm seeing this echo chamber, these algorithms at work. But if you think about it, think about our activities and our communications, we can think about it as algorithms that we're sort of putting out into space that are being fed back to us. When we change, the feedback changes typically. Now, maybe not with Amazon, but I do know people who have deliberately messed with the algorithms by looking at or looking up things that take them out of the echo chamber so that they get a broader serving up of information. But the thing is, when we get a result in life, I think it's important to look at what our expectations are, and not necessarily in that order. It would be great to look at what our expectations are before, like look at what our predispositions are before engaging. So maybe we want a relationship more than anything, and we're feeling the lack of relationship more than anything. So we're trying to make a relationship happen, but what's happening is we're broadcasting lack of relationship. So it's a self-fulfilling prophecy, because we might show up as super needy. We might show up as super clingy. We might show up as super intrusive, or, that whatever it is, the frequency, the energy, the algorithm of no relationship or lonely is what we're putting out in front of us, is what we're projecting out into the world. And almost like an unwritten invitation, but an invitation nonetheless. So if we can look at what life serves us, not as the story of our life, but as feedback, then it might give us better capability to adjust ourselves or to recognize what would be valuable within ourselves to adjust. So for instance, if there's an experience of abandonment, we can be looking at, oh, what's going on with me around abandonment? Or if there's an experience of anger coming back at you, then maybe we get to look at what is going on with me around anger or peace, or, these are clues. If we look at things as feedback, if we look at our experience as feedback, then it gives us an opportunity to have another lens on what might be going on internally. So Gia, you had said that sometimes it's really hard to find out what's going on, what the feelings are, why we're feeling a certain way. Sometimes if we can see the interactions and the feedback from the seemingly external world, then that might give us clues to what's going on internally too, if we're not as tuned in as we might be. So oftentimes we can see things better in hindsight, and we can, like, sometimes things are really obvious in hindsight. It was like that we wouldn't have noticed going forward. I'm not advocating spending our lives looking backward, but if we can give ourselves the freedom to be curious rather than judgmental. So when the thing happens, rather than to say, here it is playing itself out again, we can say, oh, interesting. There's something that could use some attention. There's something that is calling to be healed. That's what I notice about these emotions as they arise, is that they're calling to be healed. So reprogram and then infuse with new ideas, maybe deprogram and infuse with new ideas. Simply taking on a new idea can feel disrupting. So reprogramming is the awareness. Interesting. I think we might use the word reprogramming in a different way, but taking the awareness and then actively creating new perspectives, that's reprogramming for sure. When it's understood, the old idea doesn't hold water anymore. This is still Rosalind. So do we even need to conclude why it's happening? You know what, Rosalind, I'm right there with you. The why, oftentimes it's a useless question. If we look at maybe how is maybe more useful, but once it's understood and the old idea doesn't hold water anymore, why even continue with it? Let's just be enjoying the fact that it doesn't hold water anymore. And Gia says, I agree totally. The internal alignment or inner work has definitely helped me, is helping me. This is how I attracted your show and learned more about myself, as I believe we are at one at some level. I agree, Gia. I believe we are too. I see you as reflections of me and me as reflection of you, for sure. I see that in my clients as reflections of myself and myself as reflections of them. We are all one. We truly are all one. And as we connect more deeply to that truth, life becomes so much richer, at least in my experience. And I would venture to say that would be true universally. That's a hypothesis again. But anyway, that's it for today. I am so grateful to you for your engagement. As always, in these conversations, you really enrich my life and my mornings. I'm just so delighted to have the opportunity to start the day with you. I'm Mira Rubin. This is the Core Connection. And I go live here each weekday morning on the Enlightened World Network Facebook page and YouTube channel at 9 a.m. Eastern. And I invite you to check out the other awesome programming on Enlightened World Network, EWN One with the Earth, Enlightened World Living. And until next time, which I hope is soon, so much love to you.